Okay, so second attempt. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quantum Human Revelations. Yeah, that one seems to have worked. Cool. So I don't know if you just saw me a minute ago or if I was talking to myself, but I thought I just restarted to check. So I'm definitely live now, I can see. So let me just get the comments up and make sure we've got the chat going. So I'm kind of multitasking because I'm here with a few people on Zoom and I'm also here on YouTube to talk to you guys. And every Monday I'm here to talk about quantum human revelations. And this is about how we as humans are evolving into the next version of who we are. And I believe that that is a mixture of our logical, creative abilities mixed in with higher consciousness and 5D energies. So I know many of you are perhaps new to the ascension energies or to some of the terminology, but it doesn't mean you necessarily don't have the ability. More of us have the ability than we realize. This is not the realm of healers and psychics. I think this is a natural innate ability we have as humans that we can tap into. And what I'm curious about is if I meet normal people and introduce them to these abilities, then what are they going to be able to do, and how much more will they be able to achieve with these extra abilities? Now, we've been talking about the October energies up until now, and we've just been through an eclipse on the weekend. Oh yeah, so somebody's just said in the chat, eclipse energies, fun with the live. Yeah, probably. So we've just had an eclipse, and eclipses are all about shadow work. So we've just been through a point in time where we're kind of, anything in your life that wasn't quite in alignment or was a shadow that needed to be revealed would have popped up over this last weekend. Now, I don't know if any of you have noticed what's popped up for you this last weekend, but let me know in the chat. And if anybody's on YouTube, if you can give me a shout out so I know that my comments are working there, that would be good too. So shadow work is about things that we've pushed down about our lives, about ourselves, about our situation, that we've been trying to kind of keep under wraps. When an eclipse comes along, it kind of like cracks that case open and makes it pop up, so you have no choice but to deal with it. Oh, hang on, we got some muting going on there. Okay, got it. Jenny was about to share something then. That's okay. I just managed to rescue you before you said something you'd regret. Oh, no, it's gone again. Oh, yes, that's good. So with the eclipse, each eclipse, there's quite a few eclipses that happens and they're quite predictable. We don't always see them from all necks of the world. We only see them when the shadow passes over certain parts of the world, I guess. I think most of the eclipses, whenever I've looked across the states, kind of like near the equator, crossing over that way, we don't see so much here from the UK. I think I've seen one lunar eclipse here from the UK when the weather was good enough anyway. So the point is that your shadows are not always going to be negative parts of you. It's not the angry part or the bad girl or the bad boy or the jealous type. You're probably, if you're listening to the show, more likely to have been putting your light under a cover. That's a shadow too. If this eclipse wants you to wake up to see your full potential, then you may have noticed things appearing this last weekend that were agitating you into action. Because, you know, if we're afraid to speak up, if we're afraid to be seen, if we're afraid to have our light seen by others or to express our wishes and our needs, these are all shadows too. So what we got? So we got, yes, the eclipse was fun. It was intense, yeah? Cool. So I'm not seeing anybody chatting on YouTube. So if you are chatting, just to let you know, I'm not seeing anything yet. And I'll just check in again to see if anything's popping up. So last week we were talking about one of the aspects of the October energies, and it was about holding a vision. We had 3 topics we were going to cover based off of that energy reading. One was holding a vision, the other was energy, because it talks about us becoming more crystalline. And the third bit was to do with timeline jumping and time travel. So I thought today we'd go for the energy part, because I think that sits in the middle of the other 2 quite nicely. Because when it comes about holding a vision, it's not only simply what you can see, it's also about what you can feel. If you can't feel it, then it's much harder to manifest anything. You know, whenever we write our manifestation statements, it's about then being able to feel the possibility of it happening to us that powers it. That's the fuel that powers the statements that we make. But if we can't feel it, or if we don't know what it feels like, then we're never going to succeed. So the vibration you hold defines your life, and that's where the energy part comes in. So last week we explored your ability to hold a vision, and at the end of the session I actually did a small vision with you on the future of work. And you might have noticed it wasn't very specific, it was quite vague, because it was more about the feeling than the actual facts that were happening. And we do this on purpose, because if you were to make it too rigid a vision, then you're not leaving space for it to be something different. Because between now and even 3 years' time, we don't know what the world's going to hold. We don't know what the energies are going to be. So if we're too rigid and we form our vision based on the present or based on the present problems, then we're limiting what we can achieve and what we can create. However, if we focus on the feelings, and the feeling I was trying to create last week was this feeling of liberation, being more in flow, of being able to exercise all parts of us through our work, being of service. Those are the kind of things I was putting into that vision to help create a feeling of what work could be like. And that's why I said at the end that it didn't matter if that vision was right in the vision of what I said, but the feeling then becomes your signature on any work that you do in the present and the now. So that's an example of energy as well, which is why I thought energy was a good talk today. So how many of you managed to watch that vision again? Did you replay it? Because the more you play a vision, the more you align with it. So it's really important that if you guys get a chance to go back and keep playing that, then it'll help us put a different frequency out onto the planet. So I'm just checking on Zoom. I'm not seeing any comments on Zoom either, so I'm not sure if it's me and eclipse energy, but I'm not seeing anything on either at the moment. Okay, cool. I saw that. Good, thanks. So what is energy? Well, if you're an energy work already, you'll have your own definitions, but anything is energy. Basically, we are vibrating beings of energy. We can feel electric through our bodies. We can sense when somebody touches us, we can feel that kind of energy running through our fingertips. We can change our emotions, which are also energies. I think somebody kind of explains energy as emotions as emotion as an energy in motion. And emotions are these kind of feelings that have moving down our body. They are energies too. Even if we come to looking at more esoteric concepts like angels or spirit guides, we're also talking about energies and frequencies, because often we can sense what an angel or a grand master is bringing us by how it feels. So when we come to visioning and experiencing things, that's just like one of our senses. When we add the energy and the feeling onto it, we add another layer. So that's just to give you an idea of energy as a description for you guys to start thinking about, because you all probably have that sensation of deja vu or gut feeling, or having like you know something, you don't understand how you know it. Well, these are all kind of consciousness frequencies too, just to give you a feeling of how it all sort of fits together. So it's really important that we learn to sense and to discern and become energy transmuters and transformers. Because if we start looking at our bodies and our emotions that way, we find that we can become a lot more empowered in how we handle ourselves. Now, energy can also be described as chakras and meridians and things like that too. But in truth, you don't need to understand that to start managing your energy better today. You can start just by starting to sense into your body and feeling your body more and becoming aware of your energetic states, not just your thinking, but how that feels through your body. So becoming much more body aware is where the energy sits, and the mind is more about thinking. So if you tune into your bodies now, what sort of state are you sensing energetically that you're experiencing right now? Do you get a feeling that you are in peace, stressed, anxious, a little bit shook up after the eclipse? So just tune in now and get a feeling for what your body feels like. And this would be your vibration at this moment in time. Now, some of us might want to describe it through emotions. Some of us might have oracle cards that we can pull a card and help us give a slightly more complex description of what we're feeling right now. So we've got expansive and relaxed on Zoom, just to give you an idea of what some people can feel. Now, it's interesting, when we first start doing this work, I don't know how many emotions you know, but the list can be a little bit short, like angry, sad, happy. Maybe you have a few more, but there are a lot more emotional states, and each of them has a slightly different frequency to the others. So it's good to explore all the range of frequencies that are out there. Did you know there's 144 different forms of love alone, just to explore? And that gives you an idea of how many frequencies we can be experiencing at any one time. And they can move quite quickly from one state to the other. So sitting and noticing your state and how it moves and changes is a great starting point for sensing energy. Now, I suggest things like, if you've never done this work before, I suggest you tune in when you're eating and start sensing the food, because you can taste the texture and tune in. And that really gets us into a practice of becoming more embodied while we're eating. When you're listening to music, if you're the sort that responds to sound, then maybe just notice how your body's changing depending on the type of music you're playing. These are all great ways just to start your energy sensing journey and experience. And the trick is, once we've got an awareness of it, it becomes almost like the more you focus on something, the more obvious it becomes, and the easier it becomes for you to see what's going on. So then it becomes more for you to expand that feeling and go deeper into it to see what else you can feel. So if you can tune into your body, then what else can you do? Well, you can also change your frequency. So if you're feeling sad, there are steps you can take that will uplift you. Now, the easiest one we all know is walk in nature, play music, take a long bath. Those are some of the simpler ways we can start changing those frequencies. But I love teaching people how to sit and do nothing and just change your frequency without doing anything. Like, can you up level your frequency without playing music? So without having an external stimulus, can we change our frequency? And we can. It takes practice, it takes discipline, it takes some focus, but we can. And the interesting thing is, once you start doing this, you can start changing the energy of a room. You can start changing the energy at the dinner table. You can start becoming like an energetic healer for others without doing anything. And I say that it's important because I don't want people thinking now they're going to go off and put hands on people and help them, because that's a different skill and that it requires a different training. This is just about us becoming like a tuning fork and choosing what frequency we want to hold when we go into a public space, and being the beacon for that frequency so others in the room can feel it too. So yeah, Jenny's saying she loves this holding a frequency. So I call this holding space. Now, there's a 3D holding space, which is talking to your friends, being there to listen to them. But this is an energetic 5D holding space. This is where we consciously are aware of our energy and what we're bringing to other people energetically when we meet them. So I used to do a dance and teach a dance called Kizomba and Urban Kiz, and bachata and salsa also, but Urban Kiz more so was more noticeable. And because it was a chest to chest dance, we were really close, it would mean that my heart chakra was up against another person's heart chakra. And depending what energy they brought, I would sense that. As somebody who senses energies, I would sense that and I would feel it. If they were open and expansive, it would be a lovely feeling. If they were sad and trying to use the event to cheer themselves up, then I would feel drained because I'd be giving energy to them. So just like dancing, there's a kind of give and take of energies. So we learn to manage that by creating our own energy, so we don't become vampires sucking the energy from others, that we then become more contained in our own energetics. Now, some people call this being a highly sensitive person, empaths. What other terms are there? It's anything where you can sense the energies of others are sometimes seen as a negative thing, that you're oversensitive. but it's actually just the start of a skill that you can tune and you can work on and start turning it from a curse into something that can work for you. So one of the things I noticed when I was dancing was that people said to me afterwards, before they even knew I worked with energy, they said, no wonder we always felt good when we danced with you, because they could feel the energy that I was carrying every time I went out dancing. Now, I'm very good at keeping my energy contained, so I don't energetically dump on people. And that's not the same as verbally dumping. You know, if I'm feeling sad, some people can go out and dump all of their energy on somebody else, so they feel better now because somebody else has got the horrible feelings. This is about us understanding our own power to transmute and change energies for ourselves. And then there's this concept in science of osmosis, where it's kind of like where something gets to be something else by rubbing off against each other. And it's that kind of tuning fork effect that once I hold that vibration, that energy will vibrate and rub off on others. So I don't want to go too deep into energy, but I just wanted to give you some of these insights. So what I'd suggest is, as some homework, that you start noticing when you're eating food and tuning into the taste and how your body's reacting. You start noticing when you go into a room to see if you can sense the energy of a room. Then notice your energy. Then see if you can start learning to upgrade your energy from one frequency to another, so that you can start noticing the impact of your energy on others. So I'm just going to ask those that do energy work, if they've got any things that they like, any quotes that you would like to share with somebody who's never done any energy work before, that might sort of give them some insights or some incentive to do some more energy work. And while they're doing that, I'm going to just check the YouTube part, because it's very silent there. So what have you guys got that you'd recommend, or how you'd suggest that other people should do more with their energy? I think everybody's a bit stunned today after the eclipse. So just to carry on this concept of energy, so we know we've all got this energetic kind of frequency that we carry. The words that we speak, the thoughts that we think, are also vibrations and energy. And when we speak and we talk to other people, even to ourselves, our self-talk is the worst, then we're creating energetic frequencies that we're kind of bathing in. So be very careful what you say, how you say it, and what the intention behind it is. And I'm sure many of us have been like speaking to somebody who says, oh, I'm so happy to see you, and then feeling they're not so happy to see you. This is kind of where the words and the energy don't align as they should. Okay, so here's some comments from the others. Yeah, so Marta saying that it's first important to become aware and notice, especially when you're feeling sad or angry, and why. So that's a good place to start. Yeah, the bigger, stronger emotions are good starting points. And Jenny saying that when she was learning, she focused on one frequency of happiness and just kept focusing on that. And at first, nothing changed. And she noticed that she was a bit happier. And then after practicing more, she started noticing other people external to her was noticing the happiness too. I'm trying to read through the typos. I think that's what she's written. A few, I'm guessing she was a few things changed externally to, yeah, okay. So picking a single frequency or noticing when the bigger frequencies are coming up, then are good start points. So let's go back to the words. So words and thoughts are like spells. So if you have a lot of negative chatter, you're basically kind of undoing your power through your own words. When you speak to other people, you can be doing the same too. So it's really important to start noticing the energy and the words, as well as your physical energy state. Now, try and think, the October energy reading was about us becoming more crystalline. And that's an energetic state. And once we get past the basics of the energy field, our emotions, the words and thoughts, we start moving into what we can describe as codes and templates. It's almost like I'm a computer programmer as my past life. I don't mean past life, but this lifetime previously. So I find that terminology slightly easier to describe this. But it's almost like our bodies have like a fixed structure that defines our behaviors and our habits and what we do. And it's possible to change those on a more template-orientated format rather than just changing your mood from sad to happy. You can change yourself from being a perfectionist to being happy making mistakes, which is more of a higher level shift. And that's a kind of also like a shadow work, which is what we're talking about with eclipse. You know, making yourself comfortable, being a mistake maker is about bringing the shadow up. And for that, it's almost activating a template that you've switched off. So when we talk about templates and codes, that's all we're talking about is these kind of energetic ingredients that when put together, they create change in your body. And it's interesting because in the past, a lot of this work was done through something like Reiki. And you'd go to a Reiki healer, they put their hands over your body, and then you'd come up feeling different. But you don't need to do that anymore. You can start learning to do this for yourself and become your own energy healer and just becoming self-aware of your energy. But as ascension comes, there's just more and more energy coming through. There's awakening parts of us that we've put to sleep or made small. And it's kind of trying to bring that to the surface to remind us of who we are. And part of those energy waves are waking up our soul awareness. And I kind of feel like our human body is a bit like, if you imagine you're going on an aeroplane on a trip and you can only take 10 kilos of energy, 10 kilos of luggage. And it's the same for us now. It's like we came here to Earth as humans, but we could only bring 10K of our soul awareness with us, which is our energetic abilities. But as ascension goes, it's kind of upping our luggage allowance so that we can bring in more and more and more. But obviously then to go from 10K up to 30K, we needed to kind of do some work on our physical bodies to allow more energy to come in. And when we do that, then we find that we can get more insights, more access to our soul. And that's kind of what the ascension process is doing, is encouraging us to upgrade our energies now to a different type of level, not just on the emotional and the words that we use, but also almost rewiring who we are, like rebuilding ourselves from a new set of templates, kind of taking out the things we don't want and adding new ones in. And that kind of was the Aries full moon for this month as well. So the idea being that as we go through that process of upgrading, which is a kind of evolution of our energetic system, but I think it also impacts us physically as well. And it allows more consciousness to come in, so it affects our minds. Then as we go through this process, the aim is that we become less rigid and more fluid, which is the crystalline state. So when people talk about becoming more crystalline, that's what we're talking about, is getting our energy to a point where we're less likely to get stuck in old ideas, old concepts, old identities, that we're more dynamic in how our energy changes, we're more fluid, and we're able to shapeshift to a certain degree, but energetically shapeshift into new ways of being much quicker and much easier. And it's the soul, embodying more of the soul, that allows that to happen. So that's the kind of end goal, is the crystalline structure. And all of this month has been this equinox followed by the eclipse. There's another eclipse at the end of October. And often an eclipse energy kind of goes from when it starts to the next eclipse. They call that the eclipse corridor. But it can also be a 6-month thing to the next set of eclipses. So it could be a big jump over. So we never know for sure how long an eclipse is going to be activating us. But right now in October, we said, hold your vision, and we are going to become more crystalline. And through this crystalline ability, we're going to be able to move into accessing different states of consciousness, more awareness from our past lives, which is where the time travel comes in, which is where we'll continue the conversation next week on what this is going to allow us to understand. Now, just to give you some stories that, so I'll come to Marta's comment in a minute. So just to give you some stories. So I have had energetic work done where I've been in a past life and I've been, say, hanged. And during the session, I can actually feel my throat being under pressure during the energy. So this is energy we're talking about, but I could actually feel my throat. And it doesn't last long. It's just as that energy releases, it moves on. But I've actually felt that. I have had energy treatments where I felt like the end of the world, that the particular thing I was trying to resolve was never going to fix. And then just after 1 or 2 small things, it shifted completely. I've had psychic surgery done on me to help fix a neck injury, which was an old whiplash injury that was obviously energy, working on the energetics of the body, and I shifted it. So these are the kind of things that healers do. And we're not saying that we all have to do this for ourselves, but just to show you the power of energy and how it can shift things. And you can be literally one thing 1 minute, and then you're so different the next that you sit there and think, but that seemed easy. Could that really be true? Has that really happened? Because it doesn't feel like it can be as simple as that, but it can be. So this is why I think energy is part of the quantum human skill set that we're learning. And I like to call that part becoming an energy alchemist. You know, imagine if you're all beacons of light, that you've all managed to upgrade your energy skills to such a point that any negative energy in the world, you're able to transmute it and turn it back into love. So none of this being scared and pushing things away, but actively working with the energies of the planet, with the elementals, with the celestial beings, whatever you need, just bringing all that energy in and then transmuting it so that we can all be happier people on this planet. Now, I wanted to do a quick little visualization, but we're already at past. So Marta was saying that she had a funny realization this past week that she's okay making mistakes because we worked on that. That's fantastic when that happens. And Jenny saying that she felt the same with confidence, that her confidence suddenly flipped when we did a session on that. That just gives you an idea of, we're not teaching confidence or teaching you to be a mistake maker. We're just simply changing your energetic viewpoint on it. And it can quite easily change your mindset and your physical body and everything in one go. So the more you can tune into your energy, the better. So the question I had for you guys as a little exercise at the end is, at the moment, we could all do with more world peace. But what is world peace as a frequency? I know where it sits on the frequency chart in the Hertz numbers, but what does it mean? Like, when I ask you to hold peace, how do we know we're all holding the same frequency of peace when it's not something that can be easily explained? So what would peace feel like to you guys? If I asked you all to hold the space of peace, what would you do? And peace is quite a complex frequency when you think about it. And then I'm going to be a bit controversial. And I'm going to say, if you were in a war zone and somebody came up and offered you peace, would that be enough? Or would you need something a bit more like, yeah, so they're feeling it but can't describe it? Because then you have to look at, you know, what is the opposite of peace? It's separation, it's fighting. So part of peace would have to be there for some sort of unity where we can all look at each other as being part of the same family. Yeah, acceptance. So we can see already now peace is already moving away from the word peace into something a bit more detailed. Acceptance, unity. But also, you know, a lot of wars are based over resources and fighting over resources. So then doesn't that bring in abundance? So we're talking about the frequencies that we really want to share is abundance and sharing and caring. Anybody got any other words they can think of? So harmony would be the kind of energy for how we talk to each other, more loving and more caring, maybe. Equality, someone's saying, yeah, but is that even real? I think with something like equality, we have to ask the question, why are we not seeing each other as equal? Why are we so focused on creating separation? And, you know, this is another kind of big question, which I think is worth asking. But if everyone didn't need money, if they had all the resources they needed and everything was free to have, would we still have war? I kind of think we would. Humans are quite interesting creatures when it comes to this. And we mentioned harmony, but could harmony be more divinity? If we were all connected to how divine we are and how interconnected we are, would we be less prone? And I'm not talking about divinity in a religious term here. I'm talking about our own sense of self, our own awareness of how strong we feel. Yeah, it's like Marta's saying, fights existed before money. I think so too. It's, we've got to love the fact that money is just one resource, but that's why I said resources as opposed to just money. But yeah, the fights are usually over resources and lack. So we've got scarcity, division. So then when we think about peace and holding a state of peace, it almost doesn't seem to cater for all of the complex aspects, all the complex ingredients that a frequency needs to really be a bringer of peace, if that makes sense. So I thought this was quite interesting when I was thinking about this today, because it kind of brings us back in a complete circle, because I started this podcast with us connecting to our creative energy, because I said that abundance, whether it be money or resources, is earned through something that we have to offer. And that thing we have to offer is our time or our creativity. Those that are successful have a connection to their creativity energy, and they're able to be seen and heard and offer that in exchange for money. Those that are shyer will struggle with that. Those that are not connected at all will feel scarcity consciousness. So is the answer to peace actually the answer to connecting everyone to their creative life force energy and helping them feel worthy of being on the planet? Because if we all felt worthy to be on this planet and share the resources of this planet, would that perhaps be the reason we stopped fighting each other? That was kind of my thought pattern today. You can see where my brain goes. Not simple, is it? But this is kind of going back then, like last week, talking about holding a vision. So tonight, just before we finish, I thought we could perhaps hold like a vision for peace based on what we just said. So here, what we're talking about doing is creating a frequency in our bodies and then emanating it out a bit like we did last week and spreading that out across the world. And the thing is, again, that might seem a bit separate from real life, but once you've done this, then I'm going to ask you to do something in real life as well. So let's tune into the frequency first. So let's focus on every human being having their life force energy switched on. And we're going to do that by envisaging 4 dragons, one bringing in the earth, one bringing in the water, one bringing in the fire, and one bringing in the air. And we're going to see that energy kind of coming up. So we'll do it for us first. So we'll see that energy coming up through our feet, spiraling around our spine, and then leaving through the top of our head. And what this does is it reminds you that you are made up of the earth, that you are made of the elements of the earth, and that you are part of what we need right now. We're meant to be on this planet doing what we're doing. Even the bad stuff sometimes has a purpose bigger than we can imagine. But there are still more and more of us waking up to doing a more positive, more expansive way of living. So we're just going to focus on that expansion, where we see the world in a more balanced way, where we can see resources being shared easily, where everybody has that creative energy understood and valued, where we value our own creative energy. And we can see people fairly exchanging. There's no copying. There's no need to force people into buying what you have to offer. Everybody just can see clearly what each individual is bringing, because we're all connected to a divine plan. We can all sense that bigger way of working that brings all these individual ants together to work as one. We're like little tiny ants, and we're all coming together to work as one. And it's a divine plan that anchors that in. because we know that we have more powers than we realize. And when we can tune into that creative energy, we can then start creating new paradigms, new leadership, new governments, new housing, new climate management, new planet management. You know, that's what the creativity allows us to do. And when we can do that, we can then start being more free and more open with our knowledge so that the whole world can benefit, not keeping it country by country. So how's that going as a frequency? Have we got that? Can we feel it? And each of us is here with a unique vision for this planet. Each of us has a little bit of information that nobody else has. And that's partly what I want us all to find, because when we all find it and plug them all together, that's what's going to make the change. So we're calling other souls now that are here to do the kind of work that we're talking about. And just imagine that we're all linking up and holding hands with those beings that resonate with what we're talking about tonight. We kind of make a big circle all around the planet where we link hands, each of us with that dragon energy coming up through the feet and spiraling around the spine. And as we hold hands, we can feel that energy flowing from one person to the other all the way around this circle. And just by doing this, we're asking and activating people to tune in more to their creative energy, to find the solutions that we need for the problems of this planet. And instead of sending love, I just want us to send hope. Hope there's somebody out there, a leader, a scientist, a researcher, whoever that has the solution to the problem, can sense into it more and listen to their soul whispers and start to create something different that is going to be the key to unlocking the way that we all treat each other right now. And I say soul whispers because we want it to be a soul-led action, not a personality or greed focus. This is going to be a soul of service to humanity type solution. And we just make this stronger and stronger. And then just send it out all around the planet to anybody that's ready to listen to us now. We send it out to the hearts of everyone we know. Those that are willing to open their hearts to hear their soul whispers. Now just bring that energy back to you and think, what can you do in your community right now to help somebody feel this hope, to feel valued, to feel respected, to feel heard, to feel seen, to feel acknowledged? What can you do in your community right now? Just for one person, even if it's just for yourself, because everything we do starts at home with ourselves before going elsewhere. What can you do to help somebody feel that feeling so that locally we can start building that energy in our town? And when you get an idea of what that is, then give it a word, a symbol, or a color. Something you can use as an anchor that you can then tune into when you need it. And let's just commit to spreading hope for somebody somewhere. Because then we'll know that we're starting to raise the frequency of the planet into a different state. Hope is not about wishing and praying. Hope is a state that things can change. It's a frequency of, it's the frequency above despair. Despair is where we often feel like there's nothing we can do. Hope is where we don't know what we're going to do, but at least we know we're going to try and do something. And hope is kind of like a stage that we have to pass through in order to get to the other side of doing. So hope is a good pausing point. And we need to spread as much hope as we can right now. So with that all sent out, and with that energy created, let's bring our attention back to our space. Bring it all the way back to where you're sitting. 3, move your arms and legs, let that feeling amplify right through your body. 2, bringing your awareness back to your space where we started. 1, back in the space, back where we started. So I'm just going to end it there for this week. And I'll see you next week, because this has kind of got me a bit, yeah. Ooh. Right, before I start crying anymore, I'm going to say goodbye to those on YouTube and stay with you guys on Zoom. Bye, guys.